Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this guy on. He is a former federal agent who was in the Department of Homeland Security protecting our consulate in Mexico. His name is Victor. Are you saying Avila or Avila? How do you want me to say it?
Avila.
Avila. Okay, very good. Victor, nice to meet you. Nice to make your acquaintance. I appreciate you coming on. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, Joe.
I appreciate what you did for the country, just as I appreciated what Jaime Zapata did for the country, Brian Terry did for the country, Gary Brugman, our friend, did for the country. But I think so often the country purposely leaves heroes behind and stories behind because they don't want people to know really what happened. I mentioned the name Jaime Zapata. I've talked about him many times on my show because if I recall, in 2011, he was killed in Mexico, but working for us, and guns that were in the Fast and Furious deal were found at the scene, or he was killed with one of them. Do I have that right so far?
You have it very right and very close, and actually more than that. And I could go into a little bit more detail for you. It was February 15th, right. 2011, and we were ambushed on Highway 57, which is the main corridor that we used to drive all the time from Mexico City up to Texas. In this case, we met our counterparts from Monterrey on that highway to pick up some equipment. Jaime Zapata, I then gave the keys to him after we ate lunch. And within about 15 minutes after that, we were ambushed by two SUVs full of Zeta's cartel members. Obviously, we didn't know there were Zeta cartel members at that time. And a lot of things transpired. And after over 100 rounds being shot at us, Jaime was tragically killed next to me. I was shot 3 times, once on my chest, twice in my left leg. And I'm here before you by the grace of God to be able to share the story and to let people know that, in fact, we did lose an agent in the line of duty that people are not aware of and defending our country.
Yeah, the name of the book is Agent Under Fire. I want you to go and get this right now. AgentUnderFireBook.com is the website. It's Victor Avila. So was it just the two of you? And were you in there's no way you're in a marked vehicle, right? Because you don't want to let the cartels know who you guys are. Or is it marked?
No, the only marking, if there is it's that it's an armored vehicle. It looks different. It does have diplomatic plates. I was an accredited diplomat assigned permanently to U.S. Embassy in Mexico City. Jaime had arrived there just a week before on a case as he was working out of the Laredo, Texas ICE office. And it was just us. You know, our ICE office failed to follow all the protocols. Even after I challenged this assignment, there was an alert issued by the ambassadors a couple of weeks before this attack prohibiting any U.S. personnel from driving on Highway 57. We knew this. We knew the intelligence. We knew that the Zetas controlled that corridor, yet my office still sent us alone, no escort, no backup, it's the incompetence sometimes that we have to face with in our own government.
Victor, was this the cartel looking to kill a couple of federal agents? Do you think this was a setup? They knew that you guys would be on that road when you shouldn't have been on that road? And how is it that they cede an entire highway and an entire region to the cartel? How bad are things in Mexico?
Well, I'll start off with saying that you might hear, if you Google me up, you'll see a lot of stories saying that this was a carjacking, that the Zetas cartel were out there looking to carjack vehicles. This was not a carjacking. This was an ambush. And they knew that we are Americans. And don't take my word for it. You could take the criminal and these evildoers' word for it, because they testified to it in 2017, right, that in fact they did hear me say that we were Americans and U.S. Embassy employees and diplomats, and they still decided to open fire. And yes, they did control that corridor. And the problem now, Joe, that's worse. Not only do they control that corridor, the cartels control Mexico. And when I say that, I say it very confidently because they do. They're running the parallel government in Mexico. Forget the borders. The northern border of Mexico has been controlled by the cartels for a long time. They have moved into the interior of Mexico and have a heavy influence in politics, media, you name it.
Agent Under Fire, A Murder and a Manifesto. His name is Victor Avila. Go and get this book right now. Former federal agent, DHS employee, I guess under ICE, where you're there to take part in protecting the consulate. What's strange to me is that this story has been told in many, many different ways. I don't want you to have to relive everything to where it's so vivid, but I'm sure that it's pretty vivid in your mind. Do they stop you? Do they start questioning you? Because you said that they heard you say you were a U.S. citizen, that you were from the U.S. Embassy. So how does it go down? Is it sort of a roadblock that they do and then decided to open fire, or did they open fire from afar from their car?
No, they were up and close, and what they did is they conducted a rolling roadblock and forced us off the right shoulder of the highway. And when I say highway, it's actually the toll road. It's the safe road, if you will.
Right.
The 2 lanes going south, 2 lanes going north. We're going back south to Mexico City. Push us off to the side of the road, force us to a complete stop, and they surround the first, like a moon shape, our Suburban with long guns and handguns. And there was a moment there where one of the cartel members actually opened the door, a driver's side door where Jaime was driving, because when the vehicle was placed in park, our Suburban, it was programmed to unlock all 4 doors. And that caused us to, Jaime immediately reacted and shut the door, and we hit those lock buttons. Well, the window buttons were also adjacent to the lock buttons on the Suburban, and we didn't notice that my window had come down a couple of inches.
Oh, wow.
While I was screaming. We had our hands up, and all of this is in Spanish, and I was addressing them and yelling at them, identifying ourselves over and over. You have the wrong people. We're Americans, U.S. Embassy employees. This is a diplomatic vehicle. Look at the diplomatic plates. Let me show you my passport. I mean, all these things are going over and over until all of a sudden I turned to my right, and they had introduced a gun and an AK-47 through that crack of the armored window. So I immediately raised the window. They shook the guns and without notice opened fire into the cabin of the Suburban.
So normally, how did it go down? And by the way, it's Victor Avila. He's the author of Agent Under Fire. Go and get it, agentunderfirebook.com. I urge you to go buy this book right now. Find out what really went down in 2011. You've heard me talk about that case a bit, but the federal government's not telling you anything, and the media certainly ignored this one because you can't possibly make Obama look bad, and that's who was in office. So as I'm listening to how it goes down, is the standard operating procedure, Victor, that the cartel would say, okay, they're diplomats, let them go? Because you're saying that for a reason. Would you normally get a free pass on that highway or not?
Well, since 1985, when the last U.S. agent was killed in the line of duty, DEA agent Enrique Camarena, that was kind of the unwritten rule in Mexico. Cartels don't mess with U.S. federal law enforcement that are present there, and they know that. They know that we're there. We're not. It was not a covert operation. We're not there covertly, and we don't announce it either. But that's just the way it's known. And it has been many times that FBI agents, DEA agents, other agencies have been held at gunpoint by cartel members. And once they identify themselves, the cartel kind of says, oh, you know what? We messed up. We don't want to mess with these guys.
Right.
And they let them go. In this case, the Zetas cartel, as vile as they are and violent as they are, they broke the unwritten rule and brought the wrath of the U.S. government on them, but only for a small while. And because they have faction off to what they call themselves the Cartel del Noreste, or Cartel of Northeast now, which controls the whole southern border of Texas and Laredo area.
Was there any retribution at all? Did we investigate this? Did we get the bad guys that killed Jaime Zapata and injured you so badly? Is there an open case? What happened afterwards?
I'm gonna go quickly here. They arrested 7 of the shooters. 1 was presumed dead, extradited to the U.S., charged with murder, attempted murder, and other weapons charges. 2 went to trial, were found guilty, sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. The other 5 got a deal from the government that obviously the Zapata family and I did not agree with, because they were sentenced from 35 years down to 12 years. Wow. You heard that right, for killing a federal agent. The 2 that went to trial 2 years ago appealed their sentence, and the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals granted their appeal and dismissed the murder charge of Agent Zapata. Yes, you heard that right as well. They dismissed the murder charge. So I get on the phone and I start calling congressmen, senators to help us out here and to do something about it. And we did. We changed the law with the help of the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, which are great supporters of mine. And we changed the law to, they said that the murder charge couldn't be used because the murder happened extraterritorially, meaning happened outside of the United States. And we changed that. We changed the wording. It went to the Senate this past May, and it passed. And just a week ago, Wednesday, it passed the House, and it's called the Jaime Zapata and Victor Avila Federal Officers and Employee Protection Act. We're waiting for Joe Biden to sign it. I know it's kind of an irony, and you can't make this
It
thing up.
is, yeah. Now, well, thank God you guys got that done, and hopefully Biden will do the right thing here. What bothers me is that murder is murder, attempted murder is attempted murder. Who the hell cares where it happened? The idea that it's extraterritorial. So if an American is killed somewhere in the capacity of working for the federal government, we don't have any recourse before this bill? Really? Is that the way it worked?
That's the way the D.C. Circuit Court interpreted it, and puts a lot of our men and women that continue to serve, not just in Mexico, but in other dangerous parts around the world, with no further protection. By the way, this one adds assault of the employee and the family members. So it's a good law. We're happy that we got it done, and we're waiting for that signature from Biden. And I'm glad that we were able to do that. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait to get these guys back, our defendants from our case. They're going to be brought and they're going to be resentenced, but now they're only looking at up to a life sentence rather than a mandatory life sentence, because the new law is not retroactive to our case.
It's crazy. Victor Avila, he's the author, Agent Under Fire, A Murder and a Manifesto, was completely ambushed on Highway 57 along with Jaime Zapata. Jaime Zapata died. You were severely injured. Talk to me about the Fast and Furious angle here. I know what Fast and Furious is. It was not a continuation of Operation Wide Receiver. This was a brand new thing from the Department of Justice under Obama, where they were smuggling weapons into Mexico. They say to prove how easy it was to smuggle weapons into Mexico. They never told the Mexican government. They never told the Mexican president. They never told any of us. And then they pretended like these were just bad guys with guns. Was Jaime Zapata killed, and were you injured with Fast and Furious guns?
Yes, unofficially 3, and I only can say officially 2 because I only have the paperwork to prove it for 2 of those. We'll have the ballistic reports, ATF. We got them from ATF, but those were obtained a different way because the Obama administration and President Obama himself asserted executive privilege and protection on all these documents, not only related to our shooting, related to Fast and Furious. So not only our family, but the Brian Terry family have not been able to obtain any records from the government to prove what was going on with Operation Fast and Furious, because as you know, it originated in Phoenix. But the model
Right.
of this operation was to be used throughout the United States, hence our case that came out of Texas. There's a connection, the link there, and 2 of the weapons used are part of that operation that killed Agent Zapata and shot me, and landed in the hands of the Zetas. By the way, these guns have ended up in Benghazi. They ended up with the Paris shooter a couple of years ago, that massacre. El Chapo Guzman, when he was arrested, he had a 50 caliber Fast and Furious gun. It's been all over the place, and not only affected us, but also a lot of gun shop owners in Nevada and Arizona that were ostracized by the government. Some even put in jail for allowing them, for questioning the government as to selling them these weapons when they knew there's something wrong going on here.
Yeah, and again, correct me if I get it wrong, but these were straw deals that the government was doing on purpose. Straw deals where I go in, buy the weapon, and I'm really buying it for you, and then I give it to you or sell it to you. It's a straw deal because allegedly you wouldn't have the right, or the third party wouldn't have the right to buy it on their own. The government was doing this, smuggling the guns into Mexico, telling nobody about it, to prove that you can do straw deals. To me, Victor, it was an attack on the Second Amendment. They were trying to say, guns are too easy to get, guns are too easy to smuggle, we'll prove it to you, and then Americans ended up dying with these guns. Did I get it right? Is that what you see this as?
You got it 100% right, and it makes absolutely no sense, because the key here is that no one told Mexico, no one told the agents in Mexico, by the way, we're going to send 700 AK-47s down the border.
You guys had no idea.
We had no idea. We could have done a deal. We could have done a controlled delivery, taken down a warehouse in Mexico. Could have done a lot of things, but no one called Mexican customs. By the way, they make it sound like, the weapons are easily going into Mexico. Mexico is a sovereign country. They're always shoving that in our face. Why didn't Mexico stop the guns as well?
Right.
Because we know the corruption that exists there.
Right.
And it's killed tens of thousands of Mexican citizens as well with those guns. It is just, I don't know what. You're absolutely right. I do believe what you're saying about the ultimate reason why the Obama administration is because they're against the Second Amendment and wanting to make the guns look that bad.
Well, they were looking to add restrictions to long guns, especially any rifle, and they were calling them AR this and AK that, and it's all big and mean and horrible. We need to get rid of them. And the way they were going to do that was to prove, look how horrible this is. People are dying at the hands of these guns, and you guys didn't even get the heads up. I mean, federal agents like you and Jaime and Brian Terry should have gotten the heads up. Hey, this is going on. And like you said, you can do a controlled takedown of who's doing it, of who's bringing them in, who's smuggling them. You could have done it and actually enforced the law, but instead they were looking to change the Constitution. That's the problem. That's another discussion for another day. Get this guy's book, Victor Avila. He's the author of Agent Under Fire. The subtitle is A Murder and a Manifesto. It's an incredible story, a real story of the death of his partner, his near death as well, at the hands of the Zeta Cartel in Mexico with guns that we somehow smuggled in there. It's almost like it's a movie. I'm so glad that you're telling this story that just about nobody, other than maybe a show like mine, is even talking about. Thank God you survived. And I think you're right, Victor. I think you survived to tell the story.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. And the manifesto portion of this book is all about the border. I've been going down there myself since this chaos has been going on this year under Joe Biden, and I wrote about my expertise and the human trafficking. I'm a subject matter expert in that. The human smuggling, the fentanyl, that poison that continues to enter through this the Biden administration, people call it an open border policy. I call it a no border policy.
Right.
And I just got back again 2 weeks ago from Laredo and that southern portion of the Rio Grande Valley. And I go around trying to open people's eyes that whatever you think about the border, it's a lot worse. And it's only getting worse. It's not getting better, and it's unsustainable at this point, and we must do something to stop it.
Let's do another interview in the next week or two. We could just really focus on what you know about the border, the differences between Trump and Biden, what we need to do to shore it up, and what's actually happening in Mexico that nobody's even really talking about. Victor, can we do that?
Absolutely, would love to.
I appreciate you, brother. Come back soon. We appreciate him coming on. Get this book, agentunderfirebook.com. Agent Under Fire. Victor Avila is the author. Thank God you survived. We're back after this. Stay right here.